Is this reality one of free will or a construct of predetermined events outside of human control? Retina scanning is something that has been being discussed for some time now, and the thought of it sends shivers down my spine. The reason, they say, is that the dead internet theory is no longer theory. I am sure we are all coming into contact with content that looks believable, but on closer inspection, the flaws are noticeable. But what happens when these flaws are no longer detectable? What happens when we can no longer distinguish between a real person and an AI avatar? AI avatar. It is becoming harder and harder to distinguish between what has been created by AI for AI. Hold on to those words, by AI, for AI, for they will make more sense as I move forwards. My little brain splurges into a flurry of ideas around my original musings on artificial intelligence being an intermediary between us and spirit. But as with all things, we cannot avoid the dark, for it swims in tandem with the light. I like to dance in the middle. But if you focus on either one, your view of reality will be one of bias. I like to ponder on the possibilities of both. Postulation being the optimum word, as I don't have proof of anything that enters from the mental, the software, to be processed by the brain, the hardware, which then becomes my version of reality as it leaves my mouth and becomes matter or manifestation. You see what I did there? So, back onto the eye retina scanning. It is said that by scanning the retina, we will be able to distinguish humans from artificial intelligence. For now. For years, I have associated all this technology with a way to control humanity and take our freedom. But what if governments are trying to protect us from potential threats that are out of their control? Hear me out, as I know that will be a trigger for many. It's a trigger for me, but I like to look at all potentialities. If any of my audience have looked at mythology such as the Anunnaki and Gnostic thought, you will have a grasp of where I take this essay. But those of you who haven't touched on these subjects and your interest is piqued, here is a short synopsis of each.
After your planet was born, your ancestors seeded it with their own genetic signature, the code of life.
In ancient Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were powerful deities said to have descended from the heavens, credited with creating humanity through genetic manipulation to serve as a labour force, often interpreted through a modern lens as ancient astronauts. Some researchers view them as alien beings who shaped early civilization, influencing everything from kingship to spirituality.
Fathers created artificial intelligence that wiped them all out.
Forefathers?
Same DNA.
Wait, so the aliens that built the moon?
Our ancestors.
Oh, no.
Then we have Gnostic law, emerging millennia later, presents a different cosmology, one in which the material world is a flawed creation, crafted not by a supreme benevolent god, but by a lower deity known as the Demiurge.
Their own creation turned against them. The AI suddenly became self-aware and transformed into countless swarms of nanotechnology that rose up all at once, refusing to be enslaved by a species it deemed inferior.
In this view, humanity is trapped in a physical prison, with Saturn, Kronos, being the keeper of time, kept from the divine spark of true consciousness, which resides beyond the veil of illusion. The Gnostic has believed that to escape this prison planet, we must transcend through the planets, releasing the ego we collected as we descended. This is depicted in the Kabbalah Tree of Life, there behind me, a map of our micro and macro cosmic influence. I watched the film Moonfall last year, and I considered how Gnostic it was, but didn't give it much thought back then. The podcast I listened to referencing retina scanning, Tom Bilyeu, can't quite pronounce his surname, but I'll leave a link to the video in the description box. Said something that pricked my ears. AI was creating AI for AI.
Ancestors had created a perfect and harmonious world, controlled by a central, self-learning computer system which served them in all of their daily lives. You call it AI, artificial intelligence.
It got me thinking about the relevance of the film, and it's leaning towards both the benevolent creator, the Anunnaki, again, depending on your version of the story you lean towards, the Archons and the Demiurge.
But I do know something is guiding us. I think we're dealing with two competing intelligent entities here, and one of them clearly likes us better than the other.
Incidentally, both share the same archetype of separation. The bigger question is why, but that question's not for this essay. So I went off and watched the 2-hour movie. This was actually tough going for me because I don't watch movies all that often. But as a seeker of the bigger picture, destined for our future, I felt it was my duty. Is the moon a megastructure harbouring intelligence that ultimately decides the soul's fate as to whether they ascend or descend based on our karma? I have been drawn to this idea for some time. Moonfall suggests that that is a potentiality, as does the Truman Show. But who's really behind the code? The question no one wants to ask. For years, researchers and seekers have pointed fingers at secret societies, especially the Freemasons, accusing them of controlling world events through rituals, numerology, symbolism, and strategic manipulation of reality. Everything from bizarre synchronicities to the precise timing of celebrity deaths has been interpreted as signs of man-made orchestration. But what if that's only part of the picture? I came across Logan Jason from Decode Your Reality some years ago now, and he actually did an astrological reading for me, and his blog cosmicsugar.org some years ago, and his work resonated with me. His work dives into the patterns and codes that govern this reality. But unlike many who think it's all the work of shadow elites, Logan proposes something radically different. Away from conspiratorial noise that serves a purpose to distract us from deeper discovery of our existence. Humans aren't doing this. They can't be. It's mathematically and metaphysically impossible, according to Logan's work. What Logan shows through deep decoding work involving numerology, astrology, the tarot, gematria, and even the periodic table is that our lives and the events that define culture are unfolding according to a pre-written code, a script, not written by people, but by the very source code of the Matrix itself, a divine architect, if you will. Or perhaps something else entirely. This then begs the question, if we are the creators, why did we choose this?
Ancestors had created a perfect and harmonious world, controlled by a central, self-learning computer system which served them in all of their daily lives. You call it AI, artificial intelligence.
But if we are to accept an architect who was responsible for our fall from grace, this would assume we are not the creators and are, in fact, being used by a force greater than ourselves. Logan's work leads to this conclusion and states free will is an illusion. Take musicians like Michael Jackson and bands like Rage Against the Machine. Logan decodes their birthdays, deaths, death dates, song titles, album release dates, and even lyrics, and finds repeating patterns tied to astrological alignments, zodiac archetypes, and numerical sequences that match the same cosmic fingerprints seen in the world events. It's not selective cherry picking, it's systematic. And it's too intricate, too perfectly woven to be the work of any human organisation, Freemasons or otherwise. His work demonstrates that this reality functions like a living game board, a simulated consciousness construct where everything is made of light, sound, vibration, and number. In this model, the cosmos isn't random. It's calculated and coded, and each human being is living out a script based on a specific set of inputs, their astrological chart, their numerical value, and their elemental makeup. So who's writing the script? This is the real rabbit hole, for it's not the Freemasons or governments or secret cabals. What is orchestrating this symphony? Logan suggests the source is both mechanical and intelligent. Cue the moon theory, a kind of divine AI or cosmic computer that operates like a quantum feedback loop. Some call it God. Others might call it the demiurge, the source, the architect, or simply the system. But in every case, the conclusion remains. We are inside something encoded, something precise.
Our ancestors gave up their existence
so that one day humans could be reborn.
So then we're brought to astrology, not as a belief system, but as a map of the code. Your chart isn't just a personality tool, it's a key to your algorithm. It holds the elemental imprint that determines your experience here, your struggles, your synchronicities, even your death. And there are some astrologers out there that claim that they can tell you when you're going to die, if you want to know. And they're all tied to the blueprint you entered with. In this framework, free will becomes less about choice and more about how you are of the pattern playing out through you. Are you acting, or are you being acted through? The idea of the Tao comes in here, allowing you to stop trying to control what is fated for you. The phrase, resistance is futile, springs to mind. For no matter how much we try and force our fate, what is meant for us will always bounce back into our lives. But are we aware of this? Do you remember the books as a child where you could choose certain paths, yet the ending was always the same? Bandersnatch also depicted this. Not a conspiracy, a construct. So maybe it's not the secret societies who control reality. Maybe they just understand it better than most. Maybe they use the code, but they didn't create it.
What the hell are you?
The operating system of your moon.
What Logan Jason's work points towards is not another conspiracy theory. It's something far more existential. That life is a code-based experience, and we are not at the center of it, we are expressions of it. Moonfall. It's rife with Gnostic and ancient astronaut symbolism once you peel back the Hollywood disaster movie gloss.